Recording. Yeah. And I'll let people in just 2 minutes. Well, whenever you want. We have 6 people. Oh, do you play music or anything like that when people enter?
I don't have anything.
Okay, it's fine.
And they'll come into gallery view?
Yeah, they'll be coming into gallery view.
Okay, great.
Yes, here we go.
Oh,
It's going to be great.
yeah.
And let me know if you need anything.
Yep.
Anything happens, I am here for it. I'm here for you. All right. Turned on the recording. Okay. Well, I'm going to start admitting.
Okay, let's do it.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. If you wouldn't mind putting yourself in the chat where you are from, if you're leading currently groups of teams, what kinds of groups, and if you happen to have read some of Carrie's books, The Social Therapeutic Coaching. Love to know it all. Welcome. Welcome. Hello. I see some familiar faces. How wonderful. We have some prompts for the chat. In the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome. Welcome all. And we have some prompts in the chat for folks who are just coming in. Love to hear from you in our community. Really great seeing some familiar faces and some new faces. We'll be beginning in just 1 minute.
Mm.
Wonderful. And for all the new folks, lots joining. We have something in the chat. We still have lots of people coming in, so I'll give us another maybe minute, Carrie, if that's okay, before
Sure.
we get started. And then
Yep.
I'll begin our intros while folks still come in. Oh, this is wonderful. Lots of people coming in. Welcome, everyone. You'd like to share in the chat who's in our community. Okay. All right, and as some more people come in, I'll get us started. Hello, my name is Carrie Sackett. I am ICF Arizona's Professional Development Chair, And it is an honor to be hosting this event today from Me to We, Boldly Building Groups and Teams. And it's presented by our Carrie Sackett. I'll introduce Carrie in just a minute. I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping. And I want to put a spotlight on all of you who are here today as well. It's really exciting. We're working with lots of ICF chapters, and I want to acknowledge that. I also want to let people know that we will be recording this, and the recording will be put on a couple of the chapters storefronts. So it'll be one of those things that are sold out too. So just so you know that as well. And this, if you are watching the recording, you will not get the CCEs, but everyone here, you will get one core competency and then a half of a resource development competency. So if you want those CCEUs, remember you do need to attend at least 80% of the session. So if, and speaking of our other chapters that I said, I want to first apologize for any time zone snafu. I know that some of the chapters here are familiar with Arizona. When we say mountain time, we mean Arizona mountain time, which does not move. So right now we are aligned with the Pacific Coast. So like New Mexico that we work with quite a bit, right? We're moving times on them often. And so I can see how it gets really confusing, and I really want to thank you for working with us on that. And so I'd also like to thank the chapters for supporting this special event. So I want to make sure you're all seeing gallery view and you know how to do that. You can go up to your view and make sure you have gallery view for this time. And then if you know how to do the reactions, there's a button down at the bottom. It says reaction. If you click that, the top ones are a little bit more fun. You can, if you click one of the top ones, you get lots of things coming up. And then if you click the bottom ones, there's just something at the bottom. Yeah, some of you are playing with it. Awesome. Well, what I want to do is I want everyone to see who's in the house. So I'm going to call out your chapter. And if you are from that chapter, if you wouldn't mind using, one of the reactions, or you can raise your hand. And at first, I'd like to start with calling out our ICF New Mexico. ICF New Mexico, who's in the house? Yay! All right. And then ICF Nevada, who's in the house? All right, yay. Okay, and now we have ICF Oregon. Who's in the house with ICF Oregon? All right, we've got some raised hands, some hearts, wonderful. And ICF Orange County. Orange County, yay, Orange County, awesome. And then last but not least, ICF Arizona. ICF Arizona. And let me do a reaction for me too. Yay. All right, wonderful. So now let's get Carrie up here. So what I'd like you to do is, if you can change your view now is to go to the top little waffle board and change it to the speaker view or the multi-speaker view. And if you do that, you'll be able to just see pinned at the top, you'll see myself and Carrie. We're the only speakers right now. So if you wanted to do that real quick, we've got speaker and multi-speaker view. Wonderful. All right. So let me just get up her. Yeah. Carrie Sackett. She is an MS, a PCC. She specializes in group work and coaching methods innovation. And for over 25 years, she's practiced a boldly transformative approach to emotional resilience and personal growth. In the coach's chair and as a Fortune 500 global change leader and award-winning employee engagement professional. So in 2023, Carrie founded a training company, the Center for Group and Couples Coaching. And this center offers coaches of all types next generation tools that empower clients to transform their lives. She authored Social Therapeutic Coaching, a practical guide to group and couples work, which I see some of you have read, and has appeared in leading coach magazines and podcasts. So let's welcome Carrie for her presentation today from Me to We, Boldly Building Groups and Teams. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie. I love that we have the whole Carrie thing going on. Welcome, everybody. I've really, really been looking forward to our time together here. Today, we're going to cover the social therapeutic coaching approach to group and teamwork. And it's going to be experiential and interactive. I have used this approach for years in my corporate career in global change management and employee engagement. I've used it for years as a community organizer and a leader of international youth development organizations. I use it in my couples work, in my family work. So basically, no matter what kind of coaching you're doing, you're going to get something out of today, and you're going to walk out of here with one very concrete tool for sure. A lot has happened since I first piloted this workshop with ICF Arizona, my home state chapter, at our summit in the fall of 2023. Thank you, Arizona, for being open to innovators. My book has come out. It's been reviewed by the Coaching Psychologist, which is an organization out of UK, and very clearly they located social therapeutics solidly in coaching. No concern at all for crossing the line into therapy. And I want to just say that at the beginning, because the word therapeutic is in the name of the approach. That's in the spirit of emotional well-being and emotional growth. So you can see some of the places where I've appeared and whatever. This is a great time to be introducing social therapeutic coaching to our broader community, because I don't know if you all have noticed this, but there have been multiple calls for innovation in our field over the last year by some really well-respected coaches, some of whom go back to the beginning of coaching. And I think it's important to remember that when coaching was founded in the 90s, it was controversial. The American Psychological Association felt threatened and was suing coaches, or threatening to sue coaches and coaching organizations. So they were trying to shut coaching down. It made sense for us in our birth of coaching to restrict the scope of what we were doing. So some of these calls for innovation today are like, hey, we can go beyond the grow model. We can go beyond goal orientation in our work. We can go beyond the core competencies. And we can't forget that coaching as an industry from its birth was pulling from multidisciplinary areas, was flexible, pragmatic, curious, and that's been the key to our success. So it's 30 years later, and now we have an opportunity to keep going. And I firmly believe we can keep innovating without ever getting into the territory of diagnosis or focusing on the past. And finally, in a world that's changing rapidly, and people are experiencing more uncertainty and more loneliness and more stress and bigger emotions, our mission as coaches, which it has been from the get-go, has been to bring out something positive into the world. This is a great moment and a great space for us to offer new solutions that the world needs. We need new stuff now. We're kind of stuck in a lot of different ways. So that's my little opening thing here. What I'd like to do now is to go back to gallery view and take a minute to build our group here. And I want to invite you all to lean in and look around at our fellow group members. You can even toggle between the screens and notice something about a fellow member here, our group members. Maybe it's their background, the art in their background, or maybe it's their eyeglasses or their shirt collar. We are all here together, taking an adventure in shifting our lens from me to we. So let's continue looking around and start making a movement with your body slowly. And maybe do something with your face, because this is all we can see with each other through our screens is our body, upper body, and our face. So just move around, start expressing in different ways. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. All right. And now, you can feel free to toggle between the screens. We have a great turnout today. And now, while you're moving around, look at somebody else and start to imitate what they're doing. Find somebody else on screen and imitate what they're doing. Great. Fabulous. All right, thank you all. Give yourselves a round of applause. We are beginning with an improv game so that we can go immediately into a non-cognitive space together where we don't know what we're doing or why we're doing it or if we're doing it right. We're immediately experiencing we don't know. And that's good for us as coaches. And it's also so that we can feel as uncomfortable as our clients do when they join a group. Let's face it, we don't often see ourselves as part of groups in American culture. And certainly in the coaching and therapeutic environment, it's an emerging area. So our job as coaches and as group and team leads is to support the group to create an environment in which they're encouraged to go out of their comfort zone and to take risks, to be vulnerable in the group with others, to give what they're actually thinking and feeling in the moment, to do or say something that they don't know how to do, that they've never done before. So the good news around group work and teamwork is that they are still outlier forms of practice, which means there's not a lot of expectations about how things should go or should look. So there's a lot of creative space for us to work in. And that's why I'm really excited to introduce you all to social therapeutic coaching. So I'm going to lead us on a journey today to a new way of seeing and relating to groups and teams. Here we go. I'm going to go back to our slides here. And by the end of this, you're going to have two things. You're going to have a practical tool to put to use immediately in your work. And you're going to have clarity on whether this approach is something you want to learn and you want to come train with me and get the full suite of the social therapeutic tools. So let's put in the chat. Actually, I think I don't need to share anything yet. Would everyone put in the chat, have you been a participant in a group? And that could include group supervision. And then you can also add to that. So if you've ever been in a group or including group supervision, and what's the most common thing people say about participating in a group? Good, we have a bunch of group participants. I love that. What's the most common thing people say about participating in a group? They're learning from each other, ongoing development, confidentiality, greater appreciation of others. Yes. There's a lot of not feeling alone. We often walk around feeling like we're so here that we feel like we're the only person who's experiencing the pain or the life moment or the work moment that we're in. And then you get into a group and other people might have had similar experiences. They also might have seen they might see differently what you're giving to the group. So you might have some other points of view that emerge. And the other thing is a sense of community. So community and belonging, which group members and team members create themselves. You can't buy belonging off the shelf. We have to make it together. So I am a big proponent of group and teamwork, and also no matter what kind. Okay. So I'm going to give us here some specific advanced methodological tools, but any kind of group work and teamwork is more powerful because people experience not feeling alone. They get other people's perspectives. They end up feeling connected to others in ways that support client growth. It's a way that's harder to achieve in individual work. So in the last 2 years, ICF has issued core competencies on team coaching, and the National Board of Health and Wellness just issued core competencies on group coaching. And the key to it is saying, hey, you have to see and relate to the group or the team. You have to manage group dynamics and challenges. And that is fabulous. And I'm so glad that as an industry, this is where we're heading. And there is not much out there telling us how to do that. And it's understandable because most of the tools that we work with as coaches come out of models that were designed for one-to-one coaching, individual work. Therapy is psychology research is an obvious example of this. Surveys to an individual, or you take the individual out of their environment and study them. You come up with a theory, and there's a lot of theories out there. And then we take those theories and we apply them to the individual that we're working with. We're working with me tools, with individual work tools. And then we carry that same language into group and teams, but it doesn't quite work the same because our groups and teams are not only a lineup of individuals. There's also this thing, which is the sum that is greater than the parts, which is the group or the team. So there's a methodological mismatch happening in group and teamwork when the only thing we're pulling in to help us lead groups and teams are the tools of individual work. Concrete example of this, it's like when I give talks addressing the loneliness crisis, surveys say that 30% of Americans now feel lonely once a week and have been feeling that way for the past year. And then the frequency of loneliness is much higher with young people. Everybody agrees loneliness is a social issue. We're calling it an epidemic. We're calling it a crisis. It's kind of like COVID. It was an epidemic. Whether you yourself had COVID or not, we were all in this thing together of living through this moment where there was a societal health crisis. Okay, loneliness. It's a social issue. What are they telling us to do in order to get unlonely? They speak to you and you and you and you. Go talk to a stranger. Go join a club. See the methodological mismatch? Social issue. And then the way we talk about solving it is using these tools, the me tools, the individualistic tools. So we tools, the capacity to see and relate to the group, the team, the totality. To see that, we have to tap into a different framework, a framework that is not tied to the tools of modern science and the Enlightenment. Those concepts they've been very successful for the last, 200 years, we'll call it 250 years. They produced modern science. We have a lot of great things that have come out of isolating the individual, studying them, coming up with a theory and applying it. And we tools plug into the sociality of the human species. That we are all connected all the time, whether we feel it or not. We impact on each other all the time. The world impacts us. We impact on the world. So just to bring it back to loneliness for a second, to make this a little more concrete, in my talks on why we all feel lonely, I suggest, well, if we had a we lens on, mightn't we ask some different questions in our surveys? The surveys are like, how often do you feel lonely? Do you feel socially isolated? Blah, blah. Well, if we have a we lens on, we might ask this, and I'm going to actually ask all of you, and you could raise your hands on this. So I guess we have to go into gallery view for a second. How many of you believe that someone in your life, friend, family member, neighbor, colleague, leave aside your clients, okay? How many of you believe that someone in your life feels lonely pretty often? Okay, so raise your actual hand if you feel like, okay. So look around and see the hands being raised. Now, the next question is, how many of you know that that person feels lonely because they told you so? Look around. I'm pretty sure it's hard to be looking at the camera and all of you and the slides. I've got a lot to look at, but I'm pretty sure there's a difference in the numbers of hands raised. Well, that would be an interesting thing to explore and research and come up with different recommendations around. And when you see in the we lens, those questions come naturally, whatever. You can see them. They become a possible question you can ask that nobody's ever going to ask when they're operating in me lens world. Okay, so now I'm going to go to slides. Okay, so here's an example for coaching. Like really, all of these examples, they're coming from people that I'm training, and they're asking me questions, and then they're like, oh my God, that is a great way to illustrate this. So in our traditional coaching tools, and we're going to use an individual session because it's easier to see, we might ask, maybe a client's going on for however long about something they feel really upset about. And then maybe we notice a shift, or maybe they just take a breath. So we ask them, how was that for you to say out loud? The language that we all use, everybody in the whole wide world, comes with pictures in it. The picture that comes up for me in that phrase, how was that for you to say out loud, is client. Client has something inside of them. It's somewhere here in from their head and their heart, and they're talking, and then it comes out of their mouth, and then maybe it's hovering over their head, whatever it was they just said. And we ask them as coaches, how was it to say out loud? And then that's like inviting the client to think about what they just said out loud. How does it measure up against who I want to be? How does it measure up against what I'm working on? How does it, what should I be saying? Okay. It keeps our clients here. And I'm not saying that that's not helpful sometimes, and that there aren't shifts and breakthroughs and things that can happen. And it doesn't have to be the only way that we co-create with our clients. And this way assumes that coach is a separate, isolated individual from client. Okay, open up to the we lens. Oh, what might we ask if the coach is seeing, oh, we're doing this together. This session, we really are co-creating. I'm being impacted on you by you, client, and you're impacting on me. Here we are together on this journey. We don't know where we're going. Present in the moment. A we question would be, how is that for you to share with me? Very slight difference in words, different in where we're inviting our client to look. We're inviting our client to look out. Like, hello, hi, you're doing this with me. We're doing this together. How was that for you to give to me? You actually just gave me something. How was that for you? So I want to give us a chance learning social therapeutics, it's experiential, embodied. It cannot only be learned cognitively. So I want to give us a chance. We're going to go out to breakout rooms now. And, oh, actually, I'm going to keep the share for a second so I can show you. There we go. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into breakout rooms of 3 people each, and we're going to run through this twice, and you're going to perform a little scene. Okay. You have a client who's going to do most of the talking. You're going to be in your head performing, and the first go around, be sad about something. Okay. And you're talking about it, talking about it, talking about it. They're good 30 seconds of talking about whatever's making you sad. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe, you know, your Wi-Fi is down. Maybe your dog has run away, whatever it is. It can be a nice mid-level thing. 30 seconds. The person who's performing as the coach, look for your opportunity to say your line. And the first time we go through this, you're going to use the me line. How was that to say out loud? And I want the 2 of you, coach and client, to stay in that scene and then continue the conversation for another minute or so. So build with what's emerging in the moment off of asking that question. How was it to say out loud? The third person is observing. So you're gonna watch what's going on. Second go around, switch up your roles. And this time, the client, go on and on about being angry about something for 30 seconds. This time, the coach says, how was that for you to share with me? And then continue build with whatever's emerging in the moment and continue your conversation. Okay, so it's going to be about 1.5 minutes for each run through. And then we'll send you a little note so that you can then stop and talk about what are you seeing, discovering, experiencing, what questions do you have? Okay, so I hope everybody's clear. Is everybody clear on that? And we're going to put it in the chat as well. Okay, so off we go into breakouts, and look forward to hearing what you come up with when you come back. Are people not seeing break? Oh,
I had a couple shift to breakout room of 2, but I think we're good.
I pressed it and I didn't go anyplace.
Okay. Who's speaking? Sorry. Nikki? No.
No,
Renee?
there was no one in my room.
Oh, okay. That's strange. That shouldn't happen. You have people that should be in your room, but just a moment, Nikki, I'll move you to a different room. Okay. So you should be okay there. Deanna, do you see that? Okay, I'm going to assign you to room 5. They needed another person. Okay. And I'm going to assign you to room 10.
you made it, Shelley.
Almost there. Yeah. I see what happened. A couple of you came in room 7 and 7. Okay. And then Jake is the last one. Jake, I'm just looking for a group of 2. Jake, I'm going to put you in room 13. You're actually going to be a group of 2. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we are. And we should be okay.
So where are you
Okay.
putting me?
And then Renee, I'm looking for you. I don't know what happened. You were put in to room 5. You know what? Sometimes technology, right? I'm going to move you to room
Here we
1.
go.
Yep, but I'm going to move you back to room 5 because that one needed you. There we go. So it should take her. All right. And then did you go? No, it won't let you go to room 5, huh? All right, Renee,
Oh,
I'm going to
there-
move you to
No, they
room
were putting me in room 1.
I'm putting you in room 1.
That's
There you
what,
go.
that's what you just did again.
Yes, I know, because when I moved you to 5, it wouldn't let you go. Let me try
Okay, so let
again.
me, all right, hold on.
There, okay. And then we've got Victor. And Victor also was in 5. There must have been a little problem with our room 5, huh? So I will move Victor to room 13. Oh, there we go. There we are. Okay, Victor, were you able to move now? Wonderful. And Nir's going to stay on. So,
Okay.
sorry, we had quite a few people jumping out too. You know how that is when you hear breakout rooms?
Yeah.
So, but we're good now. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yes. All
Okay,
right.
good. And we're good on,
Yeah, and the timing I had set for 6 minutes and then the 60 seconds, but
great.
your call on how to do that.
Yeah, let's stay on time. It's because, you know, there's always chaos. You can't, we have to build with it.
I just call it restructuring.
Yeah, structuring.
Most people got where they needed to go. That room 5 for some reason wasn't letting anyone in. It was really weird. But we got Deanna and Renee in there now.
Good.
Wonderful. Now everything looks good.
Okay, and how is it sounding so far?
Wonderful. I'm
Oh, good.
into this too.
Okay, good.
Let me pause our record. You know, technology is our friend and our foe. I have a friend who always says, you know, people are a mixed bag. I kind of feel that way about Zoom. It's a mixed bag. We had one room that was rejecting people.
You, oh, yeah. Mhm. Right.
All right, here we go. I'm going to mute myself and let me know if you need me, Carrie.
All right. Great. I would love to try to invite people to speak that, just like a couple of words on what that experience was like. Maybe somebody could speak for a team. I'll just take a couple of comments, but I'd really like to hear how we're doing. If anyone wants to jump in. What did you discover? What was that like?
Carrie,
Yeah.
hi, this is Michelle. So I think in my group, really enjoyed being in there with the two ladies. We just really probably had more questions versus
Okay.
acting out the exercise. Um, in the language that's being used, it, you know, you asked to say, how did that feel to share versus to say out loud? And
Mhm.
I think we were not clear if it would be a different response. It felt very situational, like
Okay.
depending on what would be shared and if it's a vent versus saying I need some help with this specific thing.
Okay.
So
So
maybe you can help us
you didn't have
there.
enough context. Okay. Let's see if others had, I totally hear you on that. We're testing out this exercise actually. So, but if others did do it or try it, and if you did experience something, that would be really helpful. And I can't see everything. I see Sonia's raising her hand. I guess we could do that.
Okay, then I'll go. In our group, we noticed the first person that shared the question made them very like introspective and like really doubled down on their feelings. And then the second person that shared felt more of a connection to like the coach and said, "Oh wow, like I don't feel as alone," or like I feel like I'm validated in what
Yeah.
I'm saying, and kind of changed it from like really the me to the we.
Fabulous.
And Carrie, you
Let
have
me-
4 raised hands.
Yeah, now I see
Okay.
everybody now. So
Okay.
I guess Deborah's the first person on my screen. So I'll take one more comment and then we'll keep going.
Yeah, ours was almost the exact opposite of what was shared. I think the sadness piece of, was there was it felt like there was more connection to the situation, more empathy, more like, wow, I could just be in this with you. We weren't trying to solve the problem. It was just being in it, with coach and client. And then I was the person who was angry in the second one. And I just felt like I was spewing. And actually think it would have been more helpful to have the first question of how did that feel to say out loud? Because it was just getting it off my chest and wasn't really something that anybody else could solve. I just needed to get it off my chest.
Yep. Okay, good. Well, thank you all. That's very helpful. We're gonna go deeper into this now and what it looks like in group work. The difference between a me line and a we line. So if we are doing group work and what we are seeing is individuals around the table or around the screen, we might ask something like, what's surfacing for each of you? If we're looking at it with a we lens, the kind of question we might ask is, where's the group at with what we're discussing? The difference, what's surfacing for each of you, we might think that every person in the group has to speak, should speak. We're also the only place we're inviting clients to look is what's happening inside of themselves. The question of where's the group at with what we're discussing still allows for I statements like, well, I'm really glad we're talking about this, or, I don't know if we can handle this conversation. But it's in the spirit of looking out and building together as a group. I'll give you another example with teamwork. And particularly in teamwork is a different thing because there is a stated goal that we're trying to get to. So it's perfectly reasonable to say something like, what is each of yours assessment of where the project is at? That there are moments you really want to hear from every single individual on the team. But there are other ways to invite that from a we lens, like, hey, how are we doing as a team? Inviting people to speak to the sum that is greater than the parts. Oh, we're doing pretty good, or our communication isn't that great right now, or so there's ways to invite people to speak to the thing that's bigger than themselves. And here's a great one for when, how in teamwork, there's always somebody, this is true in group work too, where you always have somebody who's off the rails. They have some other agenda, or they really want to push something. So suddenly they say something that's out of the blue that could derail the whole meeting. Well, rather than having to manage that rogue person, putting the weight on the coach or the team lead of how to manage the person who's out of line. If we're coaching from a we perspective, we're inviting the team in to co-create with the offer, which might be a yucky offer, but what we would say is, well, what's it like for everyone to hear this idea that's very different? This idea on how to achieve our goal that's really different from what everybody else is talking about. It creates a different kind of space for people to respond into. So in a me lens, we can the word facilitator, that to me is a picture of, it's our job to manage all these individuals who do these unpredictable things, and we have to keep things managed. so things don't get out of control. In WeLens, we're developing as group and team coaches to be an ensemble director where we're skilled enough to build and create with all of what people are giving and contributing to the group or the team, even when it's messy. I am not seeing comments, so should I stop for a second? Is there
Yeah,
something?
you've got a couple. Let me read them out to you.
Okay.
First is Shelley. She says, what is it like for everyone? Feels that one. It feels like it will slip to individual. What is it like for us as a team?
Yeah.
She's wondering, might be.
Accepted. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And then Leilani says, where is the group at with what we're discussing, quotations? Is it followed up with meta perspective, summary on what is heard across the group, or individual interpretations on where they think the group is?
It's all contextual. So that's a great question. And I think as people were saying earlier, I don't have an answer to that absent the context, because sometimes either way could be the way to go in service of building the team or building the group. And we are going to shortly read an excerpt from a social therapeutic life development group. And so we're going to kind of I'm going to give you a chance to kind of dive into something that has more context to address. So another question that comes up a lot in this work is when I'm teaching social therapeutic group work, how do you do safety in group work, given that there are so many variables? And that's a really, really important question. And in individual work, there's heightened responsibility on the part of the coach around safety. In group work, there are a lot of variables, namely, there are all these other humans in the group. So I'm very clear with the coaches that I train that I don't pretend that we can pre-know or pre-control an environment of safety. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not attending to being attentive to what people need in the group. It's not, I don't mean it's a free-for-all. We're still, coaches. We're tending to the environment that we're working in. But it is my job to lead the group to be the most developed in inviting for vulnerability, for evoking awareness and discovery. And sometimes that can create uncomfortable, messy moments in group and team settings. So when that happens, then we are inviting our clients to do something that a lot of us don't know how to do, which is build and create in the mess and exercise muscles of emotional resilience and relational awareness. Okay, we're in a mess together right now. Somebody's feeling uncomfortable or not safe. How do we want to deal with this? How do we want to respond to this? So it becomes then what's emerging in the moment in the group becomes the material to work with in the group. Those relational questions that we just went through are a really powerful way of building trust and safety. And it invites client awareness. Oh, well, where am I at right now? Where is the group at right now? So, for time here. Here we go. Obviously, I packed way more into this 90 minutes than we could possibly accomplish. So, because I do want us to go to our breakout. So, relational questions encourage client growth because they're learning experientially, oh, I am impacting on another person. Oh, and I wouldn't have known if I hadn't have asked, or they hadn't have asked me. I wouldn't have known. So it's emerging experientially in the moment. Our clients are discovering that they can practice expressing what's going on for them in the moment. So they're developing relational awareness. They're becoming accustomed to seeing that we are all connected. And then they're able to tap into that energy. So, and this gets back to some of the comments earlier that people were saying, and this comes out of my training coaches. They're saying, coaches are saying to me, wow, social therapeutic coaching is powerful. Traditional coaching, you might say, is about helping the client to get somewhere, to a goal, maybe, or to seeing a next step. Social therapeutic coaching is about exploring what's there, present in the room, in the moment, emotionally and relationally. So including others with us in the moment. Let me do a little check-in. How are we doing? And then I'm gonna.
We've got a couple of questions.
Oh, lots of questions. Okay.
Or just two.
Okay.
One is from Shelley. How do I help a CEO view his executive team as a group when his default is to consider members one by one? What questions or frames might help?
Okay, let's ask that again in the Q&A, because that's a very good question. So we'll push that to the end.
Okay.
And
that's great. So I'll make sure that happens at the end. I'll put it in the Q&A. And then Julie Claire has a comment, but it might be something I think you'd want to address too. Safety that we've been talking about is the ground in my group work, she says. And I can't imagine giving this to the group to do.
Right. And we could have a whole conversation. What is that for you? How come you can't imagine that? Or what's going on? Maybe we'll touch more on that in the Q&A also. It does mean that we're not controlling the group. It doesn't mean we're not leading. It doesn't mean we're not demanding. It doesn't mean there have been moments in the group where I say, whoa, I don't know if the group can handle this. So let's slow down a second here and let's check in with everybody.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
My thought is that what I was thinking of is sometimes I do workshops, so people won't see each other after this one event. They're here, 5 or 6 hours together, and I create an environment where they can explore on their own, like creatively and paint and stuff. So there has to be rules about nobody, making comments about other people's and things like that. And they won't see each other. It makes sense to me in terms of a team. If we're going to come back tomorrow and they get tomorrow, we know we have these relationships to foster. When if it's just a one-off workshop, they want to experience their painting. They're really not there necessarily to bond with people and to come, to do something with them. It's more like they're sharing the moment with them. I'm not sure if it's quite as applicable, actually.
Right. I think you're right. Yes. Absolutely. The groups that I lead, life development groups, are ongoing weekly groups. And I might as well just say a little bit about them now. They are okay, here we go. Goodness. The groups that I lead are diverse in every way, demographically, and also by issue that people work on. So there's no presumption of sameness in the group in any way. And that's really helpful because group members are more obviously curious about each other. Nobody's assuming, oh, I have what you have, and therefore I already know what you're going through. There's more building together. My groups are 90 minutes. They're as ongoing groups. Let's speak as a business person for a second. That's ongoing revenue, guaranteed ongoing revenue. I am such a passionate champion of group work as a whole and life development groups. I want everyone in the world to be able to be in one. I want to train as many people as possible to lead them. because the output of this work is emotional growth, which we all need in these uncertain times. And in my groups, there's no formal structure to them, although in many other kinds of groups there are. The focus is, like I was saying on the previous slide, to build in the moment with what's emerging. Why clients join life development groups, sense of community and belonging almost from the get-go, because you create that sense of trust and safety as the group. People come to see it as their emotional weekly workout, the same way that you might go to yoga every week to stretch your physical muscles. People come to group to stretch their emotional, relational muscles. It's an environment where people are permissioned to be giving to others. Oh my goodness, how rare is that in our day-to-day lives, where they experience stretching and going beyond themselves and trying new lines and being vulnerable and still surviving and being caught by the group. And as people build up these muscles, they take them out everywhere they go, into their lives, into their workplaces, their relationships. Plenty of coaches are also part of life development groups. Now, the main thing about group work, the elephant in the room, the reason why there isn't much written about how do you manage group dynamics and challenges is because emotions are still a tricky area. There's no like strict roadmap on those emotions. And so, and thankfully, heading back to the relational questions that we were just asking, seeing that something is occurring between us as we're doing our work, as we're co-creating with our clients. There are now major thought leaders who are also carrying that into emotions work. They are challenging the model that emotions live inside of ourselves only. Bacha Mesquita, this is a great book, Between Us. I highly recommend it. She's saying, actually, emotions are relational acts. They're not here. Adam Grant, hopefully everybody on this call knows Adam Grant. He's a hotshot. He said he's the one saying to companies that, to CEOs, oh, here's part of an answer to what to say to your CEO. Tell him that Adam Grant says that the unit inside of a company is the team and not the individual. He's a great resource. He's been very forward thinking on all of this. And even neuroscience, people out of research in neuroscience are saying it's not in our heads, it's in the world and how we're living in it. So in social therapeutics, and I believe this passionately, the most empowering act we can do with our clients around emotions and emotionality is to co-create with them rather than manage them. And with that, and because of our time, I think, well, actually, let's take 2 or 3 minutes and maybe Carrie, tell me something I should respond to in the questions in the chat. And then we're going to go, you're going to get your hands around an actual real scene from a group. And I just want to say, I hope you're hearing that, again, this method is flexible. I'm going to give you how I'm practicing it, but hopefully you're seeing all kinds of ways that you can take this and bring this into the way you work and what you're doing.
Okay, so just time check. We've got 3 questions and it's almost 12:30. You good with the questions now?
Yeah,
or
let's do,
okay,
yeah.
great. Can you help us understand, what do you mean by no formal structure? This was by Shelley.
Okay, you're going to see that in the excerpts that you read, but it means that when I open my groups, and remember, these are outside the corporate space. These are people generally that I've done individual or couples or family work, and they come into group, or they're referrals and people come, we do a couple of individual sessions and they come into group. The way I open my ongoing groups is, hi, everybody. Does anyone have something they want to ask for help from the group with? Does anyone have something they want to give to group? Does anyone have a pebble in their shoe? That comes out of work with Nigerian colleagues who are trained in social therapeutics. That's a line I just adore. And then the group begins to talk, begins to give, begins to put things out there and build and create and hear an offer. And then my job is to be an ensemble director, to lead from behind with the lens of emotional growth and relational awareness. You're going to experience it in the breakout that we do in a minute. Again, that doesn't have to be that way for what everybody's doing, but I want to give you the most whatever. That's what I'm giving you. Sources and citations. I'll come back to that and answer that afterwards. I'll look for that during the group. And the difference between a support group and a life development group. A support group tends to be single issue focused. Life development group is not. But all these tools can work perfectly well in a support group. Asking the group, what's it like to hear so-and-so give this really hard emotional thing to the group? How is that for the group to hear that? How is it for you, Susan, to give that to the group? Those are questions that invite everyone. It really directs people away from problem solving and advice giving. How is it? Oh, I'm really touched. I'm so touched you're sharing that. Or I'm furious that happened to you. Or wow, I'm really struck by how unemotional you are as you talk about this really hard stuff. Those are the kinds of responses the group might give when we ask those kinds of questions. So we're going to go into groups of 4 now. And Carrie's going to put a link in the chat, and that is a link to one of the excerpts of a group session from my book. And you have 15 minutes together. So I take a couple of minutes and read the excerpt. There's a little bit of a setup. Then there's an excerpt of the group session. And after that, there's commentary. So that's myself and my co-author commenting on, so kind of giving you a lens into what you've just read from a social therapeutic, from a we-based perspective. So muck around in there. You have 15 minutes, kind of treat it like you're going like you're traveling to a foreign country. So let yourself kind of be washed over by the different kind of language and how people are speaking, and then talk about it together and share what you're seeing or what your questions are. And then we come back, we'll wrap up with more Q&A. Okay?
All right. So I have everyone in groups of 4 at this point, and here we go.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Let's take a couple minutes. I'd love to hear, maybe someone could speak on behalf of one of your groups And I'd love to hear what you were seeing or discovering, and hopefully the direction that we put in while you were in the breakout rooms was helpful. So the floor is open.
I'll jump in. In our group, it was a wonderful dynamic conversation, recognizing that there's a lot of skill involved for the coach to be hyper aware and recognizing what's going on, and being able to redirect when necessary.
Yeah.
And then as we're kind of conversating in our group, there is this feeling of, wait, what's the objective of the meeting? Wait, why are we here? I need to know the goals. I need to figure this out. And so I think peeling us apart and realizing that the goal is to sit in the space and talk about your feelings and recognize with everybody else and feel this sense of collaborative communication and learning together. It's not about the goal of the group. So I think that there was definitely some push and pull of trying to figure that out for ourselves.
Yes. Fabulous. Anyone else want to jump in?
Shelley, would you like to share what you put in the chat?
I noticed that I just noticed only when we came back to the big group together that we had a really rich and nuanced wrestling and conversation with wrestling with the subject.
Yeah.
But we weren't immersed in this method enough to be also saying, and what was it like for you to share that with us as a group? Or what was it like for us to receive that? Or what the nature of the group we're becoming? We didn't that was missing, which just shows what our default is. And we were discussing the ways in group coaching and business, letting go of there being any product is a bridge too far.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
you have to.
But I noticed we at the same time were in the task and product of your method. We were just noticing things about each other, but we weren't voicing.
Yeah. It's experiential. This is it is learnable, but it's you got to be doing it with others. And your point, of course, there's a natural tension, in particular in the business world, because business does have to get certain things done. That said, there are the being able to attend to the emotionality in the room and being able to ask relational questions, and our capacity as leads to be able to see the group, all of that you get from this methodology. And
and we were looking at ways where the nuance of what you were doing would supplement the work that we do.
Right.
And also, we were looking at it as a path to really enhance the emotional connections and the awareness of subtle impact, like when Fernando felt patronized or someone unconsciously was patronizing, but then they're aware of that. And then does that shift the emotional health of the culture?
Right.
When you are more.
I'm sorry.
When you are more aware, but you've also had this group of experience where it's safe to become aware that you've done something hurtful. And
yes, that people can have this conversation that you just read, that it even exists in the world is, I find powerful and hopeful. And so I think what I'd like to do now, and thank you for your comments. It was really wonderful. We're going to do Q&A. I just want to take us really quickly through if you're going to know, you know already now whether this is something you want to pursue or not. If you do, the easiest thing you can do is shoot me an email that says I'm interested, and then I'll follow up and we'll schedule a time to talk. If you want to stay in touch, you can sign up for my newsletter. On the website, there's a media page. It has my articles that I've written and the different podcasts and stuff. You can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow me personally, but also through the Center for Group and Couples Coaching. That's where I do a lot more posts on the methodology and practical tips. There is a full immersion cohort that's starting in June. That's 60 hours. A lot of it is practical and very hands-on work with me. I also have 2 weekend intensives this spring, so you could come to one of those and follow it up if you want to with the hands-on experience of being in a life development group that I lead for the first two of the 6 sessions. And then the group participants rotate leading the group. So you get to practice, you get to try it. So that's another opportunity for training with me, fewer hours. Have a discount code available for everybody. And finally, I do a monthly drop-in supervision. You could come anytime and bring something you're working on, and you'll experience, we'll push it through the lens of social therapeutic coaching. So those are all the ways, and then maybe there are more, to stay in touch. And then I wanted to do spend some time question and answers. I am not ICF certified at the moment. It's in process, but I'm not.
And Carrie, when we send out the recording, will the slides be part of that as well?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And there'll be some slides in there that we didn't even talk about. So those relational, somebody asked about, well, what were those relational questions? We just put them in the chat and you'll see that in the slides. So here are some of the questions that came up already, and then we'll take a few more. For the CEO who relates to his team like a group of, or she relates to her team as a group of individuals, I think that's a lot of the work is around your relationship with the CEO. Is there, and there's much more context and history to this. So if you want to continue the conversation, email me and then we'll talk offline. But it seems right off the bat, that's about the relationship you have with the CEO. Is there a way to get in there and say, are you curious how I'm seeing? You could start it out by, how are you seeing the team? Are you curious to hear how I'm seeing the team? Like, is there anything in your relationship where that CEO might be open to hearing you or learning something from you? So very quick response with no context. How do you keep people from jumping into problem solving? Well, you get a lot of training in that in the weekend intensive, because there's a whole suite of tools. We'll stick with the relational questions because that's what we've been working on here. You might ask the group, how are we doing? How are we doing with this conversation? And see what the group has. See if someone brings something up that you can build on and yes and on to help the group discover that problem solving isn't as intimate an activity as like what we witnessed in the session that we read. So it's not, so the way I lead it, it's not didactic. I don't say, hey, everyone, by the way, advice giving isn't good for you. And if you do it, I'm going to jump in and tell you not to. I'm more bringing it back out to the group to support the group to make the discoveries, and then I can add on. And then it's more hearable also. Because don't think that people listen to us as group leads and team leads. Most of the time, they don't. There's a lot going on. So you really want to work for that and keep your eye out for that opening. And then the last thing about life development groups internally in an organization, I feel very curious about that. I'd love to hear more of where the question is coming from. Because if it can be, and now I really do mean if it can be a safe space, if it can be confidential, and can it be? Does it have to be people maybe from totally different departments? They don't know each other, or can people agree on confidentiality? Then maybe that's possible. And that would be really cool to explore. So I'm going to stop there. We can open it up for a couple more questions. We've
got 3.
Okay. And actually, let me ask us a quick little question. How are we doing as a group? And anyone could do like a 1-word little popcorn thing. How is this for us? How are we doing?
Refreshed.
Oh, good. Curious. Now I can. I'm sorry.
Intrigued.
Great. Good. All right, let's take a couple more questions. And thank you all. I've really enjoyed doing this with you, and I'm very excited, and I hope we can continue our journey together.
Okay. And Carrie has said she's willing to stay on after 1 to answer our questions. So, and again, we understand your time is valuable. So before we begin delving in, because we just have a couple minutes, can I just have a warm thank you to Carrie? This was wonderful, Carrie. Thank you so much for sharing. So we've got a few, oh, you got some emojis going on. I love them.
Oh, thank you. Oh, you're so sweet.
And lots of thanks and love in the chat too.
Yeah.
So Carrie, do you work with these groups in person, online, or both?
I'm now exclusively online. When I started, I was exclusively in person. COVID opened up this possibility. So now my clients are all around coast to coast. I have some clients also in Latin America and Europe. So it's opened up a lot of possibilities.
Is there an ideal number of people for a group?
In online, I like 6 to 12. I like 6 because that way, and these are weekly groups, if somebody doesn't show, you still have a group. You know, I mean, the smallest I'll start a group with is 4. And 12 is also like in virtually above 12 is kind of hard because you want everyone on the one screen and connected. In person, you can go larger.
Who do you think of as your teachers or inspirations for starting this work?
Thank you for asking that question. That's part of what I skipped in the presentation. I'm trained by the founders of social therapeutics, Fred Newman and Lois Holtzman. I trained with them directly, and then I was in Fred's life development group for 17 years. Social therapeutics comes from a multiracial, community-based effort to create a new approach to human development. That's its roots. And it's an honor that Newman and Holtzman wrote a bunch of academic books on social therapeutics. So Routledge, all the academic presses, that's where they came out of, and that's where my book came out of too. But I'm bringing it down a level, making it more practical so that it can get way further out there in the world. So trained by the founders, and now being that little, you know, creative expander of something.
And there was a question earlier on resources, if you've got that listed somewhere in the slides or anything of resources, further understanding, how can people learn more?
Yes, so the website groupandcouplescoaching.com gets you to my media page where you'll find all of the articles I've written and the podcasts I've been on. You can also read the first chapter of the book for free on Amazon and on Routledge, actually. So that's a lot of where resources are. And then you have the resources there for my trainings and the certification program.
Okay, that was all that I saw in the chat. If there's someone that maybe I missed or wanted to share, come forward. I open it up if people would like to unmute. Okay, Carrie. Well, if you'd want to close us out, and again, from ICF Arizona, I really thank you for leading us today.
Thank you all. It's been fabulous. Hope to see you again.